All right, everybody. It's day 2 of the World Magic Cup. We are in round 9. This is the second round of pool play, and we've got a doozy in store for you. 2 titans of the game, Such and Kuo, the winner of the first World Magic Cup. There you see him with Team Chinese Taipei, is playing to be the first repeat team in World Magic Cup history. There you see Owen Turtenwald of Team USA. He's the #1 ranked player on the top 25 pro player list, and he is looking to he's looking to go 3-0 in this pool. This team loves their decks. Team USA is super excited, and I guess we're looking at Isaac Sears here versus Hao Shan Huang.
Huh. Looks like Owen's hands.
Oh, now we're back to. Oh, okay, there we go.
I can usually recognize Owen's hands because they're very white.
Almost blue.
Yeah, I'm always very excited to see Owen play, though. There's a couple players in the world like Owen Turtenwald and Yuya Watanabe that, for me personally, it's really exciting when I get the opportunity to watch them play.
Over the last couple seasons, Owen has just ascended to the very pinnacle of the game.
Oh, yeah.
2 Pro Tour top 8s. Such and Kuo, of course, has the World Magic Cup championship. He does not have any Pro Tour top 8s. He is, I believe, the player on the Pro Tour right now with the most pro points without a Pro Tour top 8.
Such and Kuo, definitely a well-established player. Owen Turtenwald, definitely one of the best. In this day and age of the Pro Tour, I don't think we've seen a unanimous best player in the world like we had maybe back in the Kai and Finkel days.
Sure.
But now I think there's only a very small handful of players competing for that, moniker. And I think Owen Turtenwald, Yuya Watanabe, 2 guys that are definitely in there, maybe along with Yui Jensen, maybe a few other people.
Okay, so more from Owen, Raider Spoil, some Such and Kuo, Highland Game from Owen, and then a High Spire Mantis from Such and Kuo. And that eats a pre-combat Arrow Storm.
So I started looking at Owen's deck
list. Get
list.
in for 4, yeah.
I know Team USA loves their decks, and I started looking at Owen's deck list, and I was like, oh, this doesn't look that broken. I don't really see rares. He's got all the standard good commons and whatnot, but it is Team Sealed. You usually have the good commons. Right. And then I figured out why he loves it. 4 Savage Punch.
Oh, wow.
When you can build a red-green light splash blue team or like he has, Savage Punch is one of your best cards. It's very easy to have guys with 4 power, and it's a huge swing if you can trigger that Ferocious and kill big creatures. And
right. And we're going to see that card in action right here. He plays Summit Prowler. Savage Punch is a Sage Eye Harrier. It's not even fair. That's not even a remotely close fight.
Yeah, and you can, use those Savage Punches a little loosely when you have another one in your hand and 2 more in your library.
And he gets in for 4 with the Morph and the Highland Game. That Morph, by the way, is a Snowhorn Rider.
Yeah, and you can see the swing right here. He just killed a 5-drop for 2 mana, dealt 2 extra damage, and dropped a 4-drop on his turn. So Savage Punch, one of those cards that it looks good, but it doesn't look great.
End Hostilities, though, from Such and Kuo.
Wow, and that's how you undo a tempo swing.
Wow.
Owen really able to swing that game by playing 2 spells, the 2-mana card taking out the 5-mana card. That's a huge tempo swing. You can undo that with something like an End Hostilities, because Owen got really far ahead, so End Hostilities now is a 3-for-1 and catches Suching right back up.
But Owen has another 2 creatures to deploy. He plays a Long Shot Squad, he plays a War Name Aspirant, and he's right back on top. But, Such and Kuo is sitting on, but you know what? He doesn't really have anything. Yeah, he's holding a Feat of Resistance and a Ride Down.
And that's what I would call negative synergy. End Hostility and Ride Down, not exactly good together.
Please wait until I'm not sipping my morning cup of coffee when you say that.
They're both good cards. If you're a very aggressive deck, Ride Down is excellent. It takes away the biggest blocker and deals trample damage. Great card. End Hostilities, amazing card. First pickable for the control decks. Yeah. Not so great if you need to have creatures in play so that they block them and then you can ride down their guys. Well, if you End Hostilities, you kill all your guys, you don't have creatures in play and you can't use your ride down.
Right, we're seeing lots of negative synergy actually here too. We also see the Raider Spoils.
Raider Spoils, another card that I would say has negative synergy with End Hostilities. I'm not saying you can't play both in the same deck, but they definitely do not work well together. And all 3 of those are excellent cards in their respective decks. Raider Spoils is a key staple, a great card in the Warriors beatdown deck. End Hostilities is a great card in all the control decks. And Ride Down is a great card in a red-white aggressive deck.
Right.
They just don't usually fit into the same deck together that well.
Right. Owen plays a face-up Canyon Larkers. Continues to develop his board. So we do have a result from the back table. Wang Haoshan is up 1 game. I'm sorry. Sheng Zizhan is up 1 game over Neil Oliver.
All right, but Owen looking pretty good here.
Yeah.
We know that he can't get the full blowout if he chooses to use the Savage Punch because Su Ching has Feet of Resistance, but it's not even like he's going to lose his creature or anything, so this is still a pretty good exchange for Owen no matter what he chooses to do here. I do think he'll Savage Punch. The reason he's not is because he doesn't know if Su Ching has removal in hand. If Su Ching had no cards in hand, he would definitely Savage Punch here, but he doesn't want him to like throttle in response and own him, so he's just considering could Su Ching have a throttle in hand. The way Su Ching has played this game, he's had turns where he could have throttled, so it seems like the last turn when he didn't do anything right, or was that the end hostility's turn? No, that was the end hostility's turn, but no, there's been one turn in between.
Yeah, there's been a turn in between.
He had a turn where he could have throttled and didn't, which is why I thought Owen would Savage Punch here, because if Su Ching had throttle, he would have used it. So Owen pretty much knows the coast is clear unless he top-decked it this turn, and he can't even have done that because he top-decked the Disowned Ancestor, obviously. So basically, you know he doesn't have throttle in hand.
Right, and Owen chooses to Savage Punch with the Tuskguard Captain.
This way, if somehow he did have removal, he would still get to attack with all his guys. Owen kind of hedging because Su Ching's at 7, and there's cards he could have here, like, say, Smite, for example, because that's a card that could actually kind of make sense in his hand, maybe. Probably not, but maybe. And if he had something like that, Owen would still be able to attack him for lethal after he if smited the Tuskguard after the Savage Punch resolved.
And so Owen's going to attack here with... He's thinking about it. The Canyon Lurkers actually wins this fight.
Yeah, I don't see why Owen wouldn't send the Canyon Lurkers. Oh, no. There's the Raider spoil, so they trade.
Right. So he's got a bonus point of power. So instead, he decides to send in 2 creatures here. So he wants to get some damage across.
Right. The Canyon Lurkers is a trade with the Disowned Ancestor, and the long shot squad would bounce.
Yeah.
And this was a close play. He could have sent the War Name also. In the event that Su Ching has nothing else, he can't block the War Name with the Disowned. Like, he can legally block it.
Yeah.
He would just take 8 and die. So
Right.
I actually think this might be kind of a mistake by Owen. But whereas Su Ching couldn't have throttle in his hand, I guess maybe he could have a kill shot. But I think he would have kill shotted last turn also.
How hard is it to put your opponent on having just a handful of lands and blanks?
Well, the thing is, Owen has the information from that turn in between the end hostilities and now, where he didn't do anything, right? Where Su Ching didn't do anything.
Right, but he could assume that that's a handful of... Well, he can't even assume kill shots because Owen
he would have
attacked.
used it,
yeah,
right?
he would have used it.
So that's why I think this was actually kind of a small mistake by Owen. I like that he was somewhat conservative, but I think he could have definitely sent that War Name. Right. It's also not that big a travesty if the War Name gets 8 and it's just a 2-1 and we're in the late game anyway.
Su Ching Kuo goes to 2. He chooses to block the long shot squad and let his Disowned Ancestor live to fight another day.
Yeah, and Owen's in a commanding position here pretty much regardless. You know, Su Ching would have to have second end hostilities or something of that nature.
we should check for that.
I'm actually checking the list as you said that. And he has 1 end hostilities.
Yeah, and he also has a Gurmag Swiftwing, which is what he plays here.
Yeah.
And Gurmag Swiftwing is not going to get it done.
Yeah, I don't really like this
Owen
deck.
just sends everybody, and Su Ching Kuo sweeps up his cards.
Not that you can control your deck, you know, completely and sealed, but Su Ching's deck is kind of half aggro, half control. I don't really like the looks of this deck.
Okay, we've got a couple of quick messages, and then we're going to be back for more of this titanic battle between the United States and Chinese Taipei.
Ultra Pro is the place to go for all your Magic accessories. With card sleeves, deck boxes, playmats, and portfolios showing off the best Magic art, Ultra Pro is the standard in safe storage. Visit ultrapro.com for more information. Hump bigger game by playing in a Grand Prix. These open tournaments feature the best players in your region as well as top Magic pros from around the world. Upcoming Grand Prix include Baltimore, Milan, Denver, Manila, Omaha, and Shizuoka. Visit magic.wizards.com/Grand Prix for a complete schedule.
All right, welcome back here in the middle of pool play at the World Magic Cup on day 2, and we're going to look in on Isaac Sears of the United States playing against Wang Haoshan of Chinese Taipei, and it looks like a pretty commanding lead for Huang here.
But I was looking at this board and I was about to make the comment, well, the Americans not doing as well in this match as they were in Owens, except Isaac has 2 Dune Blast in his deck.
Oh.
That might be why the Americans like their deck so much. 4 Savage Punch in the Tempo deck, 2 Dune Blast in the control deck, 4 Savage Punch in the tempo deck. These decks look incredible.
Yeah, and you can see Isaac Sears has the Dune Blast Talon play, a banner.
Yeah, but what he doesn't have is land 7.
Yeah, he really would like to potentially play. You know, he has an Archer's Parapet. Yeah, he is going to play the Kintry Invocation here to make 2 5/5s.
Right,
Or
and
to make a 5/5 and a 0/5.
Right, and it wouldn't have made any sense to play the Parapet if he wasn't going to play the Invocation, because the Parapet can't effectively block because those creatures both have Death Touch. So you knew when he, when he played the Parapet that he was also going to play the Invocation.
A throttle here.
This is actually not that bad for him. Even though he's only going to get a 1/1, and that's not going to stop Hoshan's board, he doesn't need to stop his board since he has a Dune Blast in hand, and he still just traded Throttle for not even a full card right now.
Right.
I'm not saying that, you know, Isaac wanted this to happen, but it's not that bad for him. Kind of what is bad for him is that he's looking to Dune Blast, and he's looking for this game to go really long, and he's the control deck, but there's a Sultai Ascendancy in play.
Oh, yeah.
That means Hwang is not going to draw a land basically the rest of the game. He's going to be able to look at 2 cards, you know, put any land in the yard, unless, you know, if there's 2 land, put them both in the yard, he could draw a third, but that's not that likely. So basically, he's going to have much better draw steps over the course of a long game. Normally, you punish cards like Sultai Ascendancy by being an aggressive deck because they don't impact the board. So I'm not saying you have to choose what kind of deck you are, but I'm just saying cards like Sultai Ascendancy look bad when your opponent's going 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, and you're playing a Sultai
It's very difficult to play that card on curve and not get run over.
Right. But when your opponent is, you know, trying to Dune Blast and sitting back and you've got a Sultai Ascendancy, you can really turn that into a lot of advantage.
Right.
As is, Hwang playing that Sultai Ascendancy very aggressively, binning 2 spells, Rattleclaw Mystic and Monastery Flock. Neither one particularly good right now, but, I mean, they're not lands, and it's a late game. And if you assume the game's going to go long, I don't know if you just throw away 2/2s or not. It's certainly not, you know, wrong. It depends on the spell quality of his deck, which we can take a look at, see what he's trying to find. Looks like he's got not that powerful spells.
So Isaac Sears chooses not to block, and Hwang outlasts his disowned ancestor.
He has double Dead Drop. That's kind of interesting.
Maybe that's what he's looking for, and maybe that's why he's binning.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't need a Dead Drop. His creatures both have Death Touch, and Isaac has a 1/1 and an 0/5.
Yeah, but who doesn't love casting it?
It is a sweet, sweet card. I will say that. The double Dead Drop is awesome, but Hwang's creatures are pretty weak overall. He's got like a Sultai Scavenger.
So we are going to see a Dune Blast here from Isaac Sears. He drew the land.
I don't know how much I like this play.
Interesting. Isaac keeps the Archer's Parapet.
Well, it was 0/5 or 1/1, and the 0/5 does 1 every turn anyway.
Right.
I like that choice. I'm just not sure that he needed to Dune Blast yet. I mean, I know it starts to look suspicious, but after he played 2 creatures on the previous turn, the Parapet and Kintry Invocation, I don't think Hwang would have just put him right on Dune Blast. So if I were Isaac, I would probably have just passed the turn there.
Yeah, we don't know what life totals are, though. I can't read the life pad there.
Yeah, and you can even, you know... So, I mean, you could chump block with the 1/1.
Right. Sears is at 13, and Hwang is at 12.
And Isaac could chump block with the 1/1 on the 3-power attacker, and it doesn't look that suspicious.
I'm looking at the overhead monitor. There you go.
If Isaac chump blocks with the 1/1, it doesn't look that suspicious, and he takes 1 damage, and then he could ping end a turn with the Parapet and possibly sack the banner. I mean, he wouldn't sack the banner if he was going to Dune Blast, but like if he doesn't cast any more creatures, Hwang, then Isaac's under very little pressure, and if he does cast more, then he just doesn't sack the banner, untaps and Dune Blast. I definitely don't think he needed to Dune Blast away just those 2 creatures on this turn.
So Mystic of the Hidden Way gets played by Hwang face down. And it gets debilitating injuried promptly by Sears. And we see that it was
This play, on the other hand, I do like.
Mystic.
Not just because it was a Mystic, but because he only had 4 untapped, so there's almost nothing he could unmorph that would have lived through that debilitating injury. Whereas if you let him untap, it could be a Woolly Loxodon, Abomination of Good Duel, Pine Walker, all kinds of scary cards.
So Sultai Charm on the Archer's Parapet.
Isaac debating whether he wants to deal 1 damage and not be able to sack the banner this turn, or whether he wants to let it die so he can sack the banner this turn.
Right, and he actually turns to Owen and says, "What's the best play here?"
I suspect they'll just let it die.
Use it or pop banner.
I suspect they'll just let it die because you might as well get one deeper. But and the damage doesn't seem very valuable since he's a pretty controlling deck. But you know, it's a close play. I mean, you can sack it later.
Yeah.
I think this is the play.
Just make him lose a life, I think.
Okay.
And Owen says, "Do 1 damage, I think."
Yeah, and this is definitely not a mistake. You know, it's a close play. There's a comparable value in either choice, which is why Isaac went and hired Owen to make the decision. It must be pretty sweet in a tournament when you can rent an Owen Turtenwald for a turn.
And how sweet is it that Owen can go up the chain and turn to Billy Jensen between rounds?
Yeah, and it looks like Oliver's helping too. And, you know I'm not that familiar with Andrew and Isaac, but Neil Oliver's a really good player.
He has proven himself to be a formidable limited player in a very short period of time. Wins the biggest Grand Prix of all time, loses only to William Jensen in the finals of Grand Prix Oakland, makes it to the finals of Grand Prix Ottawa.
And,
that's 3 finals appearances at limited GPs.
And all 3 of these formats, Cons, Modern Masters, and M14, 3 of the most skill-intensive limited formats we've seen in the past 5 years.
Right.
Neil really demonstrating skill very well with these performances.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go back to our main match between Owen and Zuchin Kuo here. We'll keep you updated on what's going on between Isaac and Huang. So there you see the 2 players.
Yeah, I like this. Now we can watch this match from the start, kind of get a feel for what Owen's thinking on every turn. There's always so much to learn from watching a player like Owen.
So Mountain, Swiftwater Cliffs for Owen. You know, seems like all game. You know, you got to figure out how to do 22 damage in this format.
Yeah, which I really like. Sometimes you have a play where you can make an alpha and you make a big sacrifice and it puts them to exactly dead the next turn, but you have to consider they might play a gain land and gain 1 life and throw off that whole series of plays. So it makes the computations a lot more complicated and a lot more interesting.
Yeah, there you get a look at what Zuchin Kuo has to work with. He's got a Watcher of the Roost face down, Mountain, Killshot, High Spire Mantis, and Krumar Bondkin. And then a Tuskguard Captain for Owen.
So Owen with a really good hand here. So Owen has a really good hand here. He has a 4-drop in Summit Prowler that him and Huey refer to as a mythic common. And he also has Snowhorn Rider, which is, a staple for the Timor deck. And then he's got, of course, one of his 4 Savage Punches, and the Icy Blast can deal a lot of damage. I think that this is going to be a tough game for Zuchin Kuo.
By the way, just keeping an eye on the Isaac Sears Huang match, and we're at the library counting phase there.
Yeah, this comes back to what I was talking about with him being so aggressive with that Sultai Ascendancy. He's throwing away 2/2s, and you need your resources. I mean, those 2/2s weren't that valuable, but he was at the stage in the game under virtually no pressure where I would just be basically getting rid of lands and taking spells, no matter what they were.
So meanwhile, Owen has used Savage Punch. He outlasted his Tuskguard Captain and just Savage Punched the High Spire Mantis. Didn't have a Ferocious bonus yet.
I'm actually kind of surprised to see this play. I think Owen's hand is so good that he's just trying to avoid any potential blowouts. Definitely more value in just casting the Summit Prowler at this stage in the game, I think. You can have a big swing next turn with a Savage Punch with the Ferocious and a big attack with the Summit Prowler. But of course, Suching might have tricks to mess that up. So I think Owen playing conservatively here, not necessarily right or wrong, just conservatively because his hand is so strong.
Right, he knows he has that Icy Blast on top of his curve.
Right, and this way he can, outlast again and play the Summit Prowler. So he's able to, play for the long game, basically make sure, he can use all his cards. I think that's what he would have done, but I think he's in the tank now because he drew Arrowstorm. So he has to choose between Arrowstorm away the 5/3 in attack or level up the Tuskguard Captain and cast the Summit Prowler. He could also just still cast the Summit Prowler. I think that there's generally more value in saving your removal, but with him having all these great spells in hand, I'd probably be inclined to want to use all my mana. I mean, I know you want to get in attacks where you can, but I think rather than deal 3 with that Tuskguard Captain, he could have probably outlasted it. Ferocious is very valuable for him. Having multiple guys with 4 power could end up being very valuable, and you're only missing 3 damage, and with Suching still at 20, I think there's probably more value in leveling up the Tuskguard Captain. I actually really don't like this play by Owen.
He does have Time Walk in his hand, though.
Yeah, I mean, I like casting the Summit Prowler over Aerostorm just fine, but I think if you're going to do that, you level up the Tuskguard Captain and tap out and play the Summit Prowler. I mean, it gets it out of throttle range, which is relevant.
Sure.
4 power is very relevant. Like, you don't need to go to 5-6 nearly as bad, although you do on this board, I guess, a little bit against Krumar Bonkin. But I don't think you needed that 3 damage. I think I would rather have leveled it up.
Smite the Monstrous takes down the Summit Prowler.
Owen's still in good shape. I mean, his hand is really strong. Now he's kind of deciding how greedy he wants to be and what he wants to do. He could pass a turn and have the boon to try and get him, but with Suching being a pretty good player, I don't think he wants to do that and risk stranding all his mana.
Right.
I definitely like this play.
And Owen's down to 10, so he really just wants to get the biggest threat off the board.
Right, I like this play. Another option for him was...
Which he does with Aerostorm, obviously.
Yeah, another option for him was to lay the Bloodfire Expert, since that would stop the Krumar Bonkin and just level up his Tuskguard Captain. I mean, he could end up having problems with that flyer. I don't think he has any ways to deal with it left in his hand, though he could certainly race it with Icy Blast and all these monsters.
That's what I was talking about with Time Walk earlier. He's gonna end up, getting like 2 basically unfettered combat steps with that card.
Right. There's no way I would have Aerostormed the flyer there. The only thing I would have considered if I was Owen was whether I really want to try and beat another removal anyway, because you're probably not going to win this race. Let's say had Suching's turn been killing that Tuskguard Captain. I mean, he could. He has Snowhorn Rider to deploy anyway. But what Owen would consider there is maybe just laying the Bloodfire Expert and leveling up the Tuskguard Captain, as opposed to, Aerostorming a Bonkin that the Bloodfire Expert is stopping, assuming Suching doesn't have another removal spell.
And then he just chooses to play the Snowhorn Rider face up rather than maybe go Bloodfire Expert and Snowhorn Rider morphed. But again, he saw End Hostilities last game, so he'd rather...
Yeah, and he has all spells in hand, and, people are just so quick to morph morphs, but, you end up paying 8 mana instead of 6 for the Snowhorn Rider if you morph it. And one of the key, aspects to winning games in Limited is using all your mana every turn.
Right.
That's kind of another reason, I think, for the Tuskguard Captain, which is the only play Owen's made of these choice plays that I strongly disagree with. Most of them are really close, I think. But that one turn he dealt the 3 damage, I think I would have definitely just outlasted the Captain and played Summit Prowler, not attacked, and then played Summit Prowler. The rest of these are all very close. And, I mean, that play is not horrible. It's somewhat close, but I think it's clear. In my opinion, it is. The rest of these plays are all extremely close. There's a lot of value both ways.
By the way, Owen has fallen to 6 at this point. That Watcher of the Roost has just steadily pecked away at his life total.
Right. I mean, this is a tough game for Owen to win. He's still looking good. I actually think Owen's still a favorite in this game. There's no good blocks here. Bloodfire Expert comes down, and then he has the Icy Blast to tap down Suching's team, giving him 2 attacks with all these monsters. So even though Owen might be behind on life, he's still actually ahead on the board.
Right. So Kill Shot is going to take down the Snowhorn Rider, though.
Yeah, but even with that, so Suching falls to presumably 11, and a Bloodfire Expert comes out. If Suching doesn't have anything else, Owen's still winning. I think now we've gotten to the point where Owen can't really beat another removal, but I think he can still beat that Kill Shot, potentially. He also might have to let himself get a little lower than he likes.
Right.
If that Kill Shot doesn't exist here and Suching takes all that damage, Owen can play the Bloodfire Expert and then just Icy Blast on this turn, keeping his life total at 6. Now, what Owen's got to consider is if he wants to Icy Blast during Suching's main phase, or just let him attack and die if Suching has anything.
Can't he also Dragon Scale Boon?
Right.
He's gonna Dragon Scale Boon now.
For
on
damage.
The Tuskguard Captain.
Right,
Yep.
so Owen basically decides that he can't afford to Icy Blast yet now and beat anything, so he'll just wait the one more turn, take whatever Suching can do, because he kind of needs to do that to make sure his attackers are lethal. I like this play. And I think if that Kill Shot doesn't exist, instead of this, I think he casts the Bloodfire Expert, passes a turn, and Icy Blasts on Suching's turn.
By the way, Huang did get decked by Isaac Sears on table A. Very aggressive Sultai Ascendancy.
I don't want to say he deserved to get decked, but when you're throwing away 2/2s, when you're under no pressure, I mean, it's not that surprising an outcome that he runs out of resources against a control deck when he's throwing away 2/2s in the late game.
As our good friend Sheldon Menery would often say, you did this to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, Don't get me wrong, it wasn't that bad a play. I mean, those 2-2s weren't that effective, on that board and aren't that effective against Abzan in the late game. I just think you might want to use all your resources going long there. You might want to plan for going long.
Right. Meanwhile, if Owen resolves this Icy Blast next turn, he's going to win this game.
Right. And he's at 6, so he's at a precarious little life total here. If Suching has anything, it's a really tough spot for Owen. But if he's out of gas, then Owen played this game really tight to be able to get in lethal here.
Oh, Owen is up a game. Neither team has a place yet. There's the Gurmag Swiftwing.
Yeah, but that doesn't really change anything. He's counting trample. I don't exactly know why Sucheng's so deep in the tank. He should definitely hit for 3 here. There isn't 9 on the board. Owen has 1 card in hand, and he's not trying to play around anything at this point.
Hey, plays another flyer. Owen says, look, here's the Icy Blast I'm going to cast next turn. That's actually 9.
Maybe Owen made this set of plays so that he could get in Xaxes on this turn, and it would look this cool.
And there's a hand. Owen Turnwald. It's very funny. So the Chinese Taipei team talked about the fact that one of the reasons they chose Teamer for their constructed deck is because it let them play with a red X spell. They play with a red X spell every year since the famous Bonfire of the Damned against Team USA.
You just have to remind us of that.
But that's why they chose to play Teamer. They play Crater's Claws because they want a red X spell. They're superstitious about it. You know what we just saw there? The blue Bonfire of the Damned, the blue X spell from Team USA.
Good. Maybe that's the end of that. Maybe they'll never expel America again.
All right, guys, we're on Table C. We're going to take a look at Game 3 between Neil Oliver and Zhu Zhansheng.
First time I've gotten to see Neil play in a while. I'm definitely excited.
There you see Neil Oliver. There you see Zhu Zhansheng. And we are underway. Mountain leads off for the Chinese Taipei team and a Mystic Monastery for the USA.
Neil Oliver with a Jeskai deck. He's got a lot of dual lands. He's got basically straight 3. He's got Leaping Masters, 2 Arc Lightnings, 2 Crippling Chills, 2 Mystic of the Hidden Ways, 2 Mardu Horde Chiefs. His deck actually looks phenomenal too. I can see why USA really loves their decks.
So Smoke Teller comes down for Chinese Taipei. More tap lands from the U.S. side of the board.
Zhuan with 3 of 4 Aerostorms in his deck, and I guess 1 in the sideboard. I didn't know you could have too many Aerostorms. I mean, you could definitely have too many 5s, but Aerostorm is very good. He's also got, let's see if he has more 5s. I would hope so.
You called Aerostorm a split card, Lava Axe / Terminate.
Yeah, I mean, Lava Axe has traditionally not been great, but aggro decks use it to finish opponents a lot and steal games. The downside of it, of course, is that it doesn't kill creatures, and sometimes that's what you need. Aerostorm kills creatures, so it basically takes away the downside.
Right.
Aerostorm is huge. I love that
you
card.
can use it after combat, but you can also use it before combat to clear the way of a 4 toughness creature.
Yeah, and now taking a look at his deck, I don't like that Aerostorm not being in the main because it's not like he's got 3 more great 5s and he had to put it in the board. His creatures are cheap. He's got Alpine Grizzly, Highland Game, does have a Hooting Mandrills, 2 Smoke Tellers, Sultai Flare, Summit Prowler, Warname Aspirant, double Canyon Lurkers, Dragon-style Twins, another 5-drop. But lots of cheap creatures that could come out before those Aerostorms. So I would most likely play all 4 of them.
And there you see Sheng goes 2-drop, Morph, and then Neil Oliver plays a Morph of his own. And that's a Watcher of the Roost for Neil Oliver. So Neil takes his beats here. And, a Sultai Flare.
Yeah, and this is going to be tough for Neil to recover from because Neil's deck doesn't do that well once it falls on its back foot. He has a really aggressive deck with a bunch of 2-drops and Mardu Horde Chiefs, but he doesn't really have great removal spells. His deck is not fantastic at coming back from behind.
He is holding a kill shot, we see. He reveals Mardu Horde Chief, flips up his Watcher of the Roost, gets back to life, and now we're going to see him play the Horde Chief and try to level out this board a little
Yeah, and
bit.
this turn went as well for Neil as he could possibly have hoped. I thought he was going to have a hard time getting the 1/1 out of that Horde Chief, but his morph turned out to be a flyer, Watcher of the Roost, so he's able to actually attack with it, get a little clock going, and actually get the 1/1 off the Horde Chief, getting full value there. Neil's still on his back foot in this game, but that was a great turn for him when it looked like he was, really far behind.
Right, and he's going to have his Horde Chief brought low, and that's an attack for 7 from the Chinese Taipei team.
Yeah, and that morph is a Canyon Lurkers, I believe, so it has the potential to punch in that final damage, and even if he can just end up putting Neil to 5, if it's going to take Neil a while to kill him, we know he's got 3 Arrow Storm. It might not be 4, but that's still a lot of them.
So, but John is out of gas. He's got a forest in hand.
Yeah, but what is Neil up to? I mean, this is not a close race. Neil must be about to do something decent.
I assume he's going to play Leaping Master and then leave his mana open for
Kill Shot.
For Kill Shot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's his only option at
Right,
this point.
and look to get. I mean, he's at 11. He's got a little bit of room to breathe here.
So I think what we'll see here is Neil will block the morph, and then if Zhuan unmorphs it, he'll Kill Shot it. If Zhuan doesn't unmorph it, he might assume that he cannot, and then Kill Shot the Sultai Flare. He could, take the 5 and then do it, but I don't think he'll do that at this life total. I think that's the play we'll see. I think Leaping Master on the morph, and then if it gets on morph, we'll Kill Shot it. If Zhuan passes, I think we'll Kill Shot the Sultai Flare right now. I don't think you assume it's a Pine Walker and he's going to pass to make you use the Kill Shot first or something like that.
And he does Kill Shot the Flare.
Right, because we know he's not going to unmorph it because it's Canyon Lurkers. Of course, Neil didn't know that. So that's why this play is pretty much perfect. It lets you find out if he can unmorph that or not. And then when you find out he cannot, now you can take out the Sultai Flare.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great play. I mean, that's a great turn for the U.S. It's going to clear. I mean, it's 2 for 2, but he stabilizes this board. He just takes 2 from the Smoke Teller.
Right, a huge swing in this game here for Neil.
But Mordu Warshrieker with no follow-up action also has to feel pretty good, even though that 3/3 is pretty formidable for.
Neil not exactly holding a lot of cards, though, either.
Well, he's got a Warden of the Eye, so he's going to be able to get back Kill Shot here if he wants to.
And now that they're both low on resources, that's the perfect card for him to have.
Right, Warden of the Eye trades. He maybe can even say, I'm going to go to 6 if you attack with both and block your Smoke Teller.
Yeah, no, I don't know why they're thinking on this turn. This turn is super easy. You just attack with the Flyer, play the Warden, getting back the Kill Shot, and play your tap land. The other option is play a Wind Scout that can't really block either of your opponent's creatures, and you're not ahead at all in the race. So I don't get being in the tank here. This is about the easiest turn in Magic history.
Easier than the Mystic Monastery turn 1 play?
I mean, those were his only 2 possible sets of plays this turn, and if he plays the Wind Scout, what is he going to do? Trade the Wind Scout for the Smoke Teller, double block the Warshrieker with the Wind Scout and the 1/1? This Warden effectively stops both creatures.
Yeah. To the shock of everyone, Neil Oliver and Owen Turtenwald arrive at the same play you arrived at. It just took them a little longer than you think it should have.
A lot of plays in Magic are really close. I always like to stress that a lot of times it's not clear what the best play is. It's clear that there's 2 close options, and so I like to give the thought process so everybody can maybe understand how to think about these situations, rather than be like, well, this play that's ever so slightly better is definitely right, But in a spot like this, I mean, this play is just definitely right.
Yeah,
It's not close.
And Neil does not even hesitate. He attacks with the Warshrieker and boom, block.
If this was like a casual draft and, I was Owen here and, that was Neil and he was looking at me, I mean, I know this is the World Magic Cup, so they want to confirm, but I would literally give my teammate the look of, why are you asking me for the help on this play?
So how without even seeing deck lists, how aware are these guys of not going to 5?
Very aware. Arrowstorm's a common. You know any red player is going to play it. You know that Zhuan has an aggressive deck, so he's certainly going to play them. Crater's Claw does around the same amount of damage right now. I'm sure that the goal is to keep your life total above 5 if you're Neil Oliver. If he draws double Arrowstorm, then you got me.
And so Wind Scout and Wetland Sandbar come down.
So what this turn was a little bit closer. What they were discussing was whether to keep the play the sandbar and hold up mana for the kill shot and not play the Wind Scout, or play the Wind Scout, because they don't want to trade the Wind Scout for a Smoke Teller. So when Zhuan attacks with both creatures here, the sandbar is going to trade off profitably with one Smoke Teller, but the other one they either have to take 2 more from or block with the Wind Scout. I like this play, though, because 8 and 10 are pretty much the same. You just want to keep your life total above 5, and you're increasing your clock here. So, I mean, it's definitely right to preserve the kill shot for another turn in case that Zhuan came up with a big creature.
And that looks like they're deciding whether to block anything or block nothing.
Right. Well, I think the Wind Scout blocking would definitely be a mistake. I think the Sandbar blocking the Smoke Teller is the right play.
He's going to block both. He says, you know what? We just want to play an attrition game here.
Yeah, I don't like this. 10 and 8 are the same. I see no reason to trade a flyer for a ground creature, unless Neil drew something I didn't see. But he only has kill shot in hand, right?
I believe he only has kill shot.
Yeah, I mean, if Neil had Treasure Cruise in hand or something, I could see this block.
Well, yeah, that would be making mana.
Right. Well, not just that. Just that he would have 3 more cards. But I don't see the reason to trade off a flyer there just to save 2 damage. I mean, I know you don't really want to kill shot that Smoke Teller, and it frees open the 1/1 to start attacking.
Right.
But it's still a flying creature. Any ground creature kind of stabilizes the ground anyway. I mean, it's certainly not a horrible block. I wouldn't have made it, though.
Right. Sheng goes to 11, goes back up to 12 when he draws a Rugged Highlands.
I mean, the reason for the block is that you don't have any real way to stop that Smoke Teller anyway, and you're behind in the race.
Right.
So that's why it's a close play.
A little bit more removal from Neil Oliver. It looks like he just drew a Winter Flame.
It's probably a fine block. That's a really close play.
And there is a Highland game for John. Now do you just start attack? You leave your 1/1 back and just start attacking with your flyer here?
Yep, definitely. You don't want to have to use kill shot on that Highland game when you have a 1/1 in play stopping it.
Is that a second Winter Flame?
Yeah. Knowing that you have 2 Winter Flame in play, that does add credence to my play on that close decision. You have, free way to kill the 2/2s, basically. I do think that was a really close spot, though. Definitely wouldn't fault anyone either way. This spot is clear. Your 1/1's not going to do anything better than stop a Highland game. You're not going to spend resources on it when you have a 1/1 token in play stopping it.
And you'll happily just put your 1/1 in the path here.
And, you're advancing towards victory to a turn. It's not a ton, but, it's not nothing either. It's 5 more attacks.
Looks like Sheng has drawn an actual spell for the first time in a couple turns.
One thing we do know from analyzing the plays, we didn't see game 1 between them, so we don't know exactly what Neil saw. We have a lot different information than Neil. We have perfect information, so I know that 10 and 8 are the same, and that Neil really wanted to end the game quickly because he doesn't want to give Jean the out of drawing running Arrow Storms. Neil, we don't know. Maybe he didn't see any Arrow Storms in game 1, so he assumes it's not that likely he can get burnt out. He just wants to play a really long game. Maybe he saw all weak spells from Jean, so he wants to play a long game and make the trade. There's a lot of factors that come into close calls like that based on exactly what you've seen.
So Canyon Lurkers is the play from Sheng. And now I guess we're going to see the first of our Winter Flames.
Yes, it would be really surprising if we didn't see a Winter Flame. Knowing that morph can't be unmorphed right now and live, I think that Neil will definitely deal 2 to the morph and tap the Highland game end of turn. He's got 2 Winter Flames. You can't expect for better than this from a Winter Flame at this point in the game. It's not amazing because if the 1/1 attacks, it can't stay back and block the Highland game. But you want to kill the morph anyway. For all you know, well, if it was a Woolly Loxodon or something, Jean could have presumably faced up it.
Right.
So it's probably not a great morph, but you still just want to kill it. I mean, you have double Winter Flame in hand. You're not going to get more out of Winter Flame number 2 than killing a 2/2.
Right. And Neil Oliver's become the control deck here. He's got 3 removal spells in hand now. He just drew a Smite the Monstrous. So he's got take a look at what he's holding.
Yeah, now they're discussing, well, it's
-1 Winter Flame, a kill shot, and a Smite the Monstrous in hand.
Now they're discussing, well, 3 for 2 is a race we're winning, but, it's really 1 for 2 because the Watcher's attacking either way, so it's a pretty close call. I probably wouldn't send the 1/1. I definitely wouldn't fault them if they did. Pretty close play overall.
Yeah. Gets in for 3, drops Sheng to 4 life.
These are really close plays. Mostly interesting just to analyze it. If Sheng attacks back here, Neil's not going to really be able to do much. Maybe he's going to deal the 2 damage to it. I don't know.
There's an Arrow Storm.
He's got
for the Chinese Taipei player.
Yeah, with him having a kill shot and a smite, maybe he just decided he would just go ahead and deal the 2 to it. I don't know. I mean, if he's going to take it, he's going to be at 8. I mean, he's kind of getting himself into Crater's Claws range, which is not something you're that scared of.
Oh, I mean, against the Chinese Taipei team, you better be scared of it.
Right.
So he does go to 8 here. And are we going to just see, I'm going to Arrow Storm you for 5?
Yeah.
Yes, we are. So Neil Oliver falls to 3.
Yeah, and, he's got outs at, another copy of Aerostorm, which we know he has 2 of. There's nothing Neil could have done about that. If Neil holds the 1-1 back, then he could block the Highland and Aerostorm for 5, but there's no creature in play to make the second one 5.
Right.
So Neil actually did give him these outs. I'm not saying his play was wrong because of that, because who knows if he saw any Aerostorms, and he certainly doesn't know Jean has 3 Aerostorms. I'm sure if Neil had his deck list, he wouldn't have made that attack and given him these outs.
Sheng falls to 1 on the crackback. Mardu Horde Chief. It's just off the top. Is it an Arrow Storm?
Not this time.
It's not. Not this time.
Can't top deck for the win every time.
And the match goes to Team USA. They take 2 out of 3. Owen Turtenwald defeats Su Chen Kuo. Neil Oliver defeats Zhu Zhansheng. No top deck for Chinese Taipei against Team USA here, and you know that's got to be a sigh of relief for Owen Turtenwald.
Could you imagine, like the Bonfire, he top decks the Aerostorm there, just boom, face up with the Aerostorm, number 2 for the win.
Oh my gosh. That was nerve-wracking, but we did see the blue Bonfire from Team USA, so maybe they've turned around their fortunes.
Yeah, a beautiful icy blast from Owen there.
Yeah, welcome back to the booth, Brian David Marshall, Pro Tour Hall of Famer Ben Stark, and we just watched Team USA, avenge a loss earlier in the tournament to Chinese Taipei, and of course, the famous loss 2 years ago with the top deck Bonfire of the Damned.
Yeah, those were great games. I mean, Owen had to play a really tight game there and work through a lot of removal spell and then kind of exactsies him with the icy blast.
Yeah.
Neil, we just saw a really close board, a really close game. Neil kind of outdrew him down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was still a good game where Neil really started on his back foot, kind of turned it around.
Yeah, you were unsure that Neil could actually go toe-to-toe with the deck he was facing based on how the early turns had started.
Jean's start was incredible, and I didn't know the morph, so I didn't think Neil was going to have Watch for the Roost, so he was going to be able to unmorph it, get a clock going, gain a little life, and get max value out of that Horde Chief. I thought Neil's turn was going to be play Horde Chief go.
Right.
And, Horde Chief and that morph weren't going to block that well. They would block, but not amazingly. And Jean may have already had that Bring Low in his hand. I don't really remember that, but if he did, he would get a blowout if he went for the double block on the flare. And even if he doesn't, he could just Bring Low the 2-3 and attack. I mean, it's not. Neil looked like he was really on his back foot, but that turn was a huge swing. Even though that turn didn't win him the game, when he was able to unmorph, he had a couple of big turns. When he was able to unmorph the Watcher, attack and Horde Chief, and then he had the kill shot, Warden of Eye, back the kill shot. Those were 2 big turns where he really turned the game.
Right. Well, we have an interview with Team USA ready down on the floor, so let's hear from the horse's mouth.
Hey guys, down here in the feature match area, I've got Isaac Sears of the United States, who just picked up the match win that clinched it. Talk to us a little bit about that first game, though. It went forever.
Yeah, it went really long, and I expertly used his Sultai Ascendancy to deck him out.
You expertly used it, you said?
Yeah. I mean, you got to use your opponent's cards against him, right?
Now, it wasn't the 2 Dune Blasts that helped clear the way. That wasn't...
I don't like to boast, but they were key players in that game.
Yeah. Now, what about the second game? We didn't get much of it on camera. Did it play out similarly, or was it much different?
No, I turn 2 Archer Parapet, turn 3 Kintry Invocation, which is kind of like the deck's game plan. It plays 2 apiece. It's pretty awesome.
And you just beat him down with the 5/5?
Yeah, turn 3 5/5s aren't very fair, turns out.
Yeah, there's not a lot of answers in this format. All right, before I let you go, you're now 2-0 in your pod.
Yep.
What does that mean to you guys, and what are you looking forward to next?
We're looking to win the next round and then win 3 more rounds and be back here on Sunday.
Confidence level?
About 1,000 out of 10.
1,000 out of 10, he said. Let's send it back to the booth with Brian David Marshall.
Yeah, we don't know that much about Isaac Sears, but you had one observation.
What was that?
You thought he was pretty funny.
Oh, yeah. I mean, those were pretty funny comments. We were talking the whole time about him aggressively using that Sultai Ascendancy, and obviously Isaac was liking it as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with two Doom Blasts gives you a lot of time for your opponent's Sultai Ascendancy to run them out of cards. We're going to send it back to the desk. We're going to come back. We have one more round here in the first wave of pool play. Brian David Marshall, Ben Stark.
Brian and Ben, the Killer Bees, they'll be back for the final round. I've come to the big wall for some very big results. Why don't we get to the pools then? 8 pools. Let's start with Pool A. Show you what we've got: Malaysia, Hong Kong, Thailand, and Greece. Now, Malaysia and Thailand, they're finished. Malaysia now 1-1, Thailand 1-1. Hong Kong and Greece still playing. Greece's win in the first round really sort of spreads things out in that pool because they're a bottom seed. If they were to win to go to 2-0, Greece would have a great chance of advancing. So no one clear-cut in that one. Let's go to Pool B. The Slovak Republic came in Pool B as the #1 seed. They are 1-1 after a loss in the first round to South Korea. South Korea are through to the top 16 because with 2-0, even if they fall to 2-1, they cannot be passed by 2 teams on seeding. So South Korea, congratulations to them. They are in. Nam Sung-wook, one of the World Championship competitors, one of the original 11 dream chasers, trying to go for both competitions this week. He is into the top 16. Scotland 1-1, and Guatemala, if you're a bottom seed and you're 0-2, you are done. So Guatemala, great job for making the top 32. That's a fantastic performance, but the top 16 will not have Guatemala in it. Let's go to Pool C then, and in C, it's the Netherlands, the Russian Federation, Spain and Venezuela, a terrific group, and we have an in and we have an out. The Netherlands at 2-0 are in. Frank Karsten, Roy Over, Iso Bean, Thomas Hendricks, they are through for sure, and now they play in their last match, which will be against Venezuela down at 1-1 currently, to see whether they can continue to be, the Netherlands, a top seed in the top 16, because the seeding is cumulative. You take yesterday's 7 rounds and add in the scores from your 3 rounds today to see whether you're a 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed in the top 16. So still work to be done for the Netherlands, but they're in. Spain, meanwhile, a terrific team led by Javier Dominguez, Tony Ramis Pascual, but at 0-2, they are done. They cannot get in because they are a bottom 2 seed, and they must finish lower than at least one other team and the Netherlands. So Venezuela need to beat the Netherlands to see if they can possibly squeeze their way in, but they will need Spain to take out the Russian Federation. So can Spain do Venezuela a Hispanic favor in the final round of pool play? Let's move on to Pool D then. This is Israel, Brazil, Portugal, and Belarus. And Team Israel, the dream chaser Shahar Shenhar, is in with a round to spare, in for certain into the top 16. Stav Brenner also on that team. We had a chance to chat with him yesterday. Now, Brazil and Portugal, holy wow, that's a matchup next round. One of those 2 will advance. Willie Adel and the crew, the 3 remaining players on Portugal, will go at it in the final round. One of them will join Israel in the top 16. Belarus, again, great job for making the top 32, but no top 16 for Belarus. Let's move to Section E, and this is Sweden and England and Hungary and Norway. And this is what we have. All the results coming in. Sweden at 0-2. Wow, this is going to be a seriously crunchy group. England are 2-0. That means England are through, by the way. So England are in the top 16. Fabrizio and Terry and the guys, they had a terrific pool, beat Sweden round 1, and they have won again, this time over Norway. Now, in the final round, England, already through, will face Hungary at 1-1. Hungary needing the win. Sweden, already in deep trouble at 0-2. If they go 1-2, 2-1, 1-2, it looks to me like, well, it is super tense in that one. England through, that's the one thing we can say with absolute certainty in Pool E. Let's look at F. Argentina and Mexico came in as the top 2 seeds. Here we are. This result still waiting to come in. Mexico, Colombia, we don't have. And a strange one, this. Argentina have drawn with Denmark. They have a draw. 0 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. So 1 point in the group. Denmark are up to 4 points. The winner here of Mexico-Colombia, if it's Mexico, Mexico are through. If it's Colombia, that's going to be a savage last round of Argentina-Colombia, Mexico against Denmark. Let's move to Pool G. This is Uruguay, Chinese Taipei. You've already seen, this is awesome stuff. You've already seen the United States defeat Chinese Taipei, so that result will be just about to go in. at 2-0, the United States. Dominican Republic result has now gone in 0-2. Uruguay are clean through, and with the United States about to go to 2-0, that settles it. That means that the United States have got past their fourth seeding here, and now what they need to do is win their last round, which will be against the other 2-0, the Uruguayans, to see how far up the seeding they can go. Now, moving to a 3 seed, not that big a deal. But if they could possibly, by 3-0ing this pod, go up to a 2 seed in the top 16, then they would just need 2-1 to come back tomorrow for the top 8. Great job for United States. They are through. Uruguay is through. That's the first group decided. 2012 champions, Chinese Taipei, gone. All right, finally, Group H, Serbia, Czech Republic, South Africa, and Slovenia. Let's take a look. Well, all right, we have Serbia. They are through. Alexa Talarov, fantastic job. The Czech Republic are at 0-2. Czech Republic face South Africa in the last round. Now this is the group where the seeding could be everything for the Czechs. You'd think they'd be gone at 0-2, but the way the pairings work, Serbia face Slovenia in the last round. So let's say Serbia win, they go to 3-0. Slovenia would fall to 1-2. Czech Republic, let's say they beat South Africa. Czech Republic would be up to 1-2. South Africa fall to 1-2. You'd end up with 3-0, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. The second seed, the Czech Republic, would be in. But in order for any of that to happen, not only do they have to beat South Africa, they have to hope that the next door neighbours, Serbia and Slovenia, that Serbia emerges with the win. How much will Serbia care about maintaining a top seed in the final round versus their next door neighbours and best friend Slovenia, Robin Dola and the guys, making it in with them? Huge sweat for the Czech Republic as we head into the final round. So that's where we are. Still a few results to come in, but we are heading to the last round. But before we get there, yesterday, hope many of you saw the first part of our World's Week Memories with Mark Rosewater. Well, if you have a part 1, you better have a part 2. And that is coming up right now.